Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. How's it going? Y'all feeling all right? Yeah? Okay. Well, first, I want to thank the folks at Geffen Contemporary at MoCA for inviting me to do this program and making it possible. My name is Madison Moore. I'm joined here tonight with Bebe. Shout out to Alex Sloan, Amelia Charter, Michelle Huizar, and Clara Kim, and to Bebe for joining me. Today's talk is part of an ongoing social practice project that I started in March 2022 during a nightlife residency I held at the Kitchen. It's a propagation that melds and merges performance, oral history, and personal narrative to articulate the significance of queer nightlife, and Black queer nightlife specifically. With our time this evening, I hope you will reflect on your own nightlife histories, memories, and experiences, and if the beat moves you, dance. There's always energy for dancing. In 2001, I moved from St. Louis, Missouri to Oxford, Ohio, a small, tiny college town near Cincinnati, the home of Miami University. I received a full scholarship here to study violin performance, and while it wasn't necessarily my dream school, I was just so excited to be anywhere that got me out of the house. Oxford, Ohio is the kind of isolated town you can only get to by taking those two-lane roads, the ones away from the main highway typically found in more rural areas. I remember these two-lane roads well because whenever my group of friends and I wanted to do anything fabulous, like going to the gay club, we drove 45 minutes to Cincinnati or an hour to Dayton at the weekend. You can do the math. That means we spent almost 2 hours back and forth commuting to queerness, commuting to wider queer pastures and pleasures. I often think about this 2-hour commute to queerness we made a few times a month. It's not to say that there weren't queer people in Oxford, Ohio, or that you can only be queer in the big city. It's that there's an anonymity that comes with leaving your small town and pumping to a place where nobody knows your tea. And sure, there were bars and clubs in Oxford, it was a college town after all, but none of them had gay nights. Dress too fabulously and you might get in trouble. Lock eyes too long with a cute guy and who knows what'll happen. And so, we commuted from Dayton to Oxford and sometimes Columbus as a way to escape the overbearing heteronormativity back on campus. The club we went to the most was Masque, that's M-A-S-Q-U-E. I would guess that all of us have a club Masque, the first club we ventured to, danced in, and probably stumbled out of on our way to figuring out who we were and who we wanted to be, shedding everything we'd been taught by our family in the process. At the time, as a closeted Midwestern Black twink from St. Louis, Missouri, going to Masque represented something urgent about the ability for queer people to come together, to dance together in space, to sweat together under the beat, feeling the textures of bodies moving, grooving, and cruising. Club Masque was my first real taste of queer nightlife. I loved that I could go to Masque without lying to my grandmama about where I was really going, because ours was a religious household where anything that didn't fit into heterosexual timeline was frowned upon. I always think about my Aunt Jackie, who was super religious and used to warn my cousin Courtney and me, "Now don't y'all be going to them clubs. That's the devil's house." But what if you want to be deviant and disobedient? Isn't it more exciting to move through the world in dissent of the here and now? I never forgot those warnings because of the kind of embodied, embedded moral commentary on those of us who want to live vibrant, iridescent lives full of excitement, dancing, sweat, and cum and music, as when the artist Sable Elise Smith shares that, "I want to dance slick with sweat and cum and saliva. I want to hold the body in a state of titillation, rush to its peak by the simple act of being alive." By taking a breath, by breathing, the club is a sanctuary for queer liberation. Now don't y'all be going to them clubs. That 2-hour journey to and from Mask indicates that there's something so amazing, so electric about the potential of dancing with queerness that it is worth the 2-hour commute out of the middle of nowhere. I checked up on Club Mask recently to see if it was still going, and unfortunately, the venue closed in April of 19, well before the pandemic. Why'd they close? Well, they weren't able to renew their lease. The same story over and over again. Due to Mask not being able to negotiate a reasonable lease or purchase the building, we will be closing the venue. Another venue becomes a victim of gentrification. Part of my interest in nightlife is that I think it offers a queer method of living. Here, I'm drawn to the brilliant work of cultural critic Kevin Quashie on Black aliveness. In particular, his evocation of a 1968 poem by Gwendolyn Brooks titled The Second Sermon on the Warplane, whose first line is, "This is the urgency, live," an imperative that is more difficult to do than it seems. From Club Heaven in Detroit to Tracks in Atlanta, and from New York's Paradise Garage to Detroit's The New Dance Show, the nightclub is not only one of the most important cultural institutions to emerge during the 20th century, but one that has continually been a site for living. We can see the significance of the club as a method of living in the dance music genres incubated there, in the vibrant fashions we see on the runway, in the novels of the radical French gay writer Guillaume Dustin, in the films of Wu Sang and Lila Weinrobe, whose 2018 film Shakedown offers a dynamic portrait of a black lesbian strip club in Los Angeles. We see the significance of the club in the DJ sets of Authentically Plastic, Juliana Huxtable, and K-Hand, and in work by artists like Zandra Ibarra, Tionani Kiema Cloden, Felix Gonzalez Torres, and Christopher Paul Jordan, whose site-specific sculpture, And I'm Gonna Miss Everybody, from 2021, is breathtaking. A 20-foot tall set of speakers configured as an X. The speakers are a testament to the club as a method of black queer living, a way to honor black queers whose lives have been lost to HIV, the X a gesture of turning the positive sign on its side in an attempt to reduce HIV's stigma. X as in the pronoun MX, X as in getting your tins at a ball, X as in the House of Extravaganza. I feel an urgency to write about black queer nightlife because as a young black queer kid growing up in Ferguson, Missouri, I didn't have opportunities to touch queerness, not until I got to college, for real, and discovered Gay Night and the potency of Rihanna remixes at Necto, the local dance club in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm gonna tell you, those Rihanna remixes from 2006 or so had a chokehold on my soul, let me tell you that. Right? For as long as I can remember, the club was a place of longing and warning. There were gay clubs in St. Louis, where I'm from, and I wanted to be in them, but as a closeted 18-year-old without a car and in a city as segregated and sprawling as St. Louis, how would I get there? Who would take me? Remember my Aunt Jackie, whenever my cousins and I did try to leave the house on our Friday night. Don't y'all be going to them clubs. Nightlife as a site of longing and warning draws on cultural critic Saidiya Hartman's Poetics of Waywardness, where unruly cabarets, dance floors, private parties, and dark stairwells offer opportunities to strike against the here and now, to wander, to be unmoored, adrift, rambling, roving, cruising, strolling, and seeking. In spite of the fire fire of everyday life, for Hartman, waywardness indicates an ongoing exploration of what might be, an improvisation with the terms of social existence. I am living, a Black queer colloquialism used as an exclamation, an interjection, and a punctuation, an expression of deep emotional feelings of joy, fun, allure, and excitement, an affirmation. I am living, a sweet on the fullness of pleasure, a pleasure pursued against the clock, living as the antidote to the numbness and terror of life in what Joanna Brown calls the dystopian terrain of our existence. I am living, the practice of reclaiming your time in the pursuit of pleasure. You can get your life from an outfit, a dance party, a favorite color or type of fabric. I get my life from sequins, exhibit A, or an artwork maybe, or a gorgeous dessert, a poem, a fierce new set of nails, and especially from a DJ set. As when one of my club sisters texted me with urgency from Berlin a few months ago on the occasion of Honey Dijon delivering an apparently galvanizing set in the main room of Berghain. His text message to me said simply, "This set is the incarnation of living."
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Get into Sheryl Lee Ralph. In 1984, Sheryl Lee Ralph told us, "In the evening, the real me comes alive. Something happens that I can't describe. It helps me to survive." And 2 years earlier, the New York dance group In Deep said a DJ could save our lives. These performances reflect small but impactful moments of iridescence. Shine, shimmer, glistening, glowing. Moments of iridescence, a kind of Bartesian punctum, jump out at us because most of life is not iridescent or exciting. In this way, the colloquialism "I am living" rhymes with Jill Dolan's utopian performative, those peaks in performance that are so impactful, gorgeous, that we are left wondering what life might be like if we could always have experiences that are this and so incredibly striking. And so with that, I've shared my nightlife narrative, or at least a little
It's beautiful.
a little piece of it, a little piece. I would love to know from you, what were some of your earliest nightlife experiences? Impactful ones.
Yeah, the first person I want to name is Nacho Nava, who maybe some of you know, and one of our queer sisters. But yeah, used to run a party called Mustache Mondays, which is legendary. How many of y'all used to go? How many of y'all went to Mustache? Oh yeah, Mustache crew in the front. But yeah, I just remembered. So I went in the mid 2010s. That was when it was at the Lash, or like mid to late. It wasn't that long ago, but this was after they were at La Cita. And it's interesting, like, I feel like Nacho transformed this space that was kind of like, I mean, it kind of looked like a bathhouse, but I feel like he queered that up even. I feel like it had become kind of straight and like normalized, but then when it was Mustache, I feel like the space felt more communal and just vibrant, and it had more life in it. I remember Sebastian would work door sometimes. I remember your purple short hair. Gabby would work door, vibrant red haired Angel. And yeah, it just felt like a beautiful space. We would talk shit, kiki, I love talking to Nacho. He's like one of the most interesting people that I knew at the time. And then I used to work at the Pleasure Chest in West Hollywood, which is a sex store, and I'd steal lingerie.
Yeah.
I'd steal lingerie. I didn't have the money for that shit. It was way too expensive, overpriced. And then like, I'd go in my little skimpy lingerie to Mustache. This is me pre-DJing. I don't know what I was doing.
Gotta get those resources, you know.
I feel like I was, building my nightlife identity through that space, and it was really creative and open, and it encouraged that. And I was thinking about like Kiki Extravaganza. I don't know if people knew, with a mask, this person would come and do drag with like a big mask and a big femme mask, and like just was super captivating. But there was so much in that space.
Love that. Give it up for Nacho.
Yes.
Broadly speaking, the fight for queer nightlife has always been about the right to dance together in space. The need to dance has been targeted through things like anti-Black dress codes, racist door policies, bans on certain types of or certain genres of Black music, cabaret laws, no dancing laws, and even racial entry quotas, where venues required multiple forms of ID for non-white patrons. And this was, believe it or not, a very widely held practice across the country. As the cultural critic Micah Salkin tells us, gay bars in the near north side of Chicago had racial quotas that where they required multiple forms of ID for non-white patrons, but only, and this is the part, only when there were too many Black people already inside, right? Ain't that some shit? Fucked up, right? So the love of dancing and nightlife became crystal clear when the clubs closed in March 2020. We all know why. And everyone thought COVID would last a couple of weeks, maybe a few months. Almost nothing underscores the significance of nightlife as a method of getting our lives than how quickly DJs, drag queens, promoters, clubs, and clubgoers figured out how to throw parties on Zoom during COVID. Club kids even took to social media platforms like TikTok and made videos longing for the dance floor, using their bedrooms to rehearse for the day queer nightlife returns. This is one of my favorite videos from that period. What I love about this video is the sense of rehearsal for the gay club, right? Rehearsing for that moment. But also that when this came out, 2022 seemed like forever ago, and now we're already a 2023 girl, you know. And here's another video I want to show you quickly.
You sent him out Blue and Coke, right? Okay, good. You got it. There's that. Hey, Tom, she's cut off. No more drinks. Can I get you something else? All good? All right, enjoy. Ma'am, hi. I already cut you off, so no more alcohol. Sweetheart, it's not a debate and there is no jury. You're done drinking. Okay, I'm not trying to ruin your birthday, all right? Looks like you had a great evening. That sash is beautiful, but your night is coming to an end, all right? So I can get you some water or you're gonna go bye-bye. It's your choice. Yeah, you're all set. You got it. And for you. I'm sorry, that's too much ice. All right, is that better? A little more? Better? Awesome. I take it you like more soda? Or is it the teeth? Are they sensitive? Got it. There we are. You're all set, my friend.
So that was that moment. When we finally gather to dance, we're following folks like Fred Moten, who says something along the lines of, party over here, party over here. The party is constantly showing us that there's a riot going on. In 2016, Justin Torres penned an op-ed in the Washington Post in the wake of the Pulse nightclub massacre about what's possible in a Latin queer club. In the piece, Torres gorgeously stages the differences between the world inside the club and the world outside it. Outside, he writes, there's a world that politicizes every aspect of your identity. Outside, they call you an abomination. Outside, there are more than 100 bills targeting you, your choices, your people pending in various states. Here, he's poignantly articulating the ways that it is Black people, Black trans women, queer and trans people of color, poor people, gender nonconforming people, faggots, and sissies whose right to exist is subject to debate every day. Inside the club, it's on and poppin'. If you're lucky, no one is wearing much clothing and the dance floor is full. You know what opposite of Latin Night at the Queer Club is? Another day in straight white America. And so with this spirit of nightlife as a space of protest, and having always been, especially queer nightlife, having been rooted in protest, fighting for these spaces, I wanted to ask you how you're thinking about producing parties as a protest, what it means to kind of continue that legacy today.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about like the Supreme Court as like having a real tangible effect on people's lives, but also maybe always negotiating and having an underground network we're gonna support each other no matter what. Like, I think one of the cases was like a straight Christian web designer that didn't want to design for like a gay couple who were getting married. But it's like, yo, we have our little network of I understand that the state, the country is supposed to provide in certain ways, but I feel like if we create our own networks, and that's really what the underground party is, our own like taking care of each other, our own like our systems of harm reduction, ways of like keeping people safe in so many ways. That's what it is. It's creating another world that is, in oftentimes it's illegal. I'm just saying it has to be illegal. But yeah, that's why it's a riot, and I think that's why it's important. It's an imperfect space. Nightlife isn't perfect. Like, the world is violent. Like, that stuff seeps into the underground as much as anything. But I think it's just about being mindful and like really trying to support each other, because people be going through it. Like, we had a sister who we thought like had died, like one of our trans sisters in our community recently. It turns out she hadn't passed, but she needs a lot of support. And so it's like, partly I'm like, okay, I used to be a social worker too, pre-nightlife shit. So it's like, I'm kind of like incorporating that's my role. It's like, help facilitate, help people as much as I can, and give people opportunities, and center Black, trans, and queer people.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
One of the principles that also grounds how we can think about the significance of dancing and nightlife is how to think about having fun. And not just having fun, but producing fun and being critical of fun and seeing fun also as politics. What would a politics of fun allow us to do? Oh, that's not right. Nobody had more fun than the fabulously dressed queens and kings working the airways of the new dance show, a lo-fi Detroit-based television dance party that focused on house and techno music, which ran from 1988 to 1996 on the first Black-owned TV station in the US. The new dance show featured a cast of regular dancers and it aired about 4 nights a week from 6 to 7 p.m. for 1 hour, and the show featured fabulously dressed Black folks grooving to the most cutting-edge beats of the era. I'm gonna show you the opening credits for the new dance show because it mesmerizes via a club aesthetic. Heavy bass gives us the temperature of the vibe immediately, the video itself an urgent call to dance. And for me, this is the allure of bass, the speculative potential of what the night holds. So you'll see iridescent shadows, silhouettes, impressions of dancers, feeling it, living, passes by quickly, the images scattered, frantic, spinning like a disco ball. It's kind of fierce. I feel like the trailer is kind of giving it to you. It's kind of giving it to you, right? Like, I want to watch that show, right? And so the defining characteristic of this show for me is its flyness, you know, sumptuous images of folks dancing, and not simply dancing, but turning it, getting their nightlife, reminding us again of Hartman, who thinks about dance as a call to freedom. She says, a practice of moving even when there was nowhere to go. Hartman on freedom, a practice of moving even when there was nowhere else to go. Dancing when there is nowhere to go is a practice of refusal. So I want to show you now what the actual show looked like, and it's pretty fierce, so get ready. Get into these looks. Can you take it? I love the shoe cam. Like, I don't know. I could just watch this for hours on end, which I do sometimes for research, you know. But for a show so focused on cutting edge looks and dance music, the DJ, Jesse the Body, who's the resident DJ for the show, is never seen on camera. The show focuses mostly on the dancers, their outfits, the shoes, the looks, and it's edited. The producer of the show edited it so that the dance moves are in time with the beat. They were having so much fun. And speaking of fun, now it's your turn. Feel free to get up and dance at any time.
Dance break.
Little dance break.
Black queer club culture, I can't help but think that it started long before the invention of an actual club. But I am reminded of how Black people love to party and use it as an outlet, I think, for dealing with some of the stresses that impact Black people in the world. I think about the Harlem Renaissance period and all the fun that happened there during one of the toughest times for Blacks in America. I think about how we invented disco and house and techno, and I think about the ballroom scene, how we came up with that, and I think I can't wait to see what we come up with next. It was someone at a panel that said that by the time white people catch on to what Black people had been doing, we would have moved on to inventing something new. And I'm just like, yes. I have images in my head of Black queer clubs, and I see this image of Diana Ross at Studio 54 leaned back with her eyes closed and arms stretched to probably listen to some badass disco. And I see Grace Jones in that low-cut silk top with that part in her head, and flanked by all of these who's who in the club scene. These are the images that I see and I reflect when I go out. It's always of other Black people. I watch them, I observe their dancing, just their creativity, and, I just admire the Black people in the Black queer scene because it's overrun now by a lot of white people, and sometimes it doesn't feel welcoming, but yet we're still partying and still saying, hey, this music that you love so much, remember, we brought this to you.
Give it up for DJ Madison Moore.
Old heads skeptical about going out after dark will tell you that there's nothing open after midnight but legs. I've always loved this colloquialism because it makes you think about what's different about nighttime. What does nighttime allow? For me, nighttime is about different uses of time. Even the clothes are different. You know, what if we dressed like it was nightlife all the time? And that's part of what makes nightlife so special. The fact that it's anonymous, leaves no trace. A friend of mine recently made an interesting comment about nightlife, one that I still don't have an answer to. They said, why have a panel on nightlife when you could just go to the party and the theory is right there in front of you? I thought that was a great point because one of the difficulties of writing and thinking about nightlife is that it disappears. The music stops, the lights come on, get out, the party's over. The queerness of queer nightlife might be how it actively resists evidence and documentation. That often the only traces of night that remain is the mess of phone numbers, bar stamps, flyers, feathers, drink tickets, Instagram DMs, a hangover, a bad come down, and other kinds of debris that will be discarded and likely wouldn't make it to the archive anyway. One of the most in-depth studies of nightlife, of darkness, specifically comes to us from Brian Palmer, an intricate history of the ways deviant groups use the cloak of darkness as a strategy to pursue covert operations. He says, the nighttime has been the right time for the daylight's dispossessed. The night has always been the right time for the daylight's dispossessed, the deviant, the dissident, and the different. And there's something of a bond among us who have chosen or been forced to adapt to the pleasures and dangers of the dark, a space that exists through as well as in time and space. I teach a class on queer nightlife, and one semester in the class, a student told the group that they sometimes have anxiety when they go to the club, not because they don't want to be there, the student loves going out. So their anxiety is more because of the rampant anti-blackness and transmisogyny that plagues these spaces. I've lived with this comment for a long time now as it plugs into some of the problematics around queer nightlife. Even as queer nightlife is a space for dancing, community, connecting, and collectivity, the downside is that these spaces are not always equally fun for everybody all the time. At a certain point in my 20s, I realized that I didn't actually like the mainstream gay clubs I was going to. I got sick of the commercial dance music, tired of being there but not seen, waiting, pleading for someone to see me. But rather than take the downsides of queer nightlife at face value, I asked my students to write queer nightlife manifestos where they shared some of their top demands for the kind of queer spaces they want. Here's what they said. It's pretty funny. Gender-neutral bathrooms with emergency buttons. Accessible space. Free sealed poppers. Ooh. To be 18, work. No photos inside the venue. Multiple disco balls, not one, but multiple. Dark rooms for people who want to hook up. This particular student put this comment in the parentheses. I was like, girl, I know what a dark room is. Pays the employees well. Queer DJs, no cishet white men. Ooh. Low entry fees. Daytime events. There should be neon lights that make my hair glow brightly. Yes. No police on the premises. Security will suffice. And an outside cool-off area with free water and seating. So, you produce parties here in LA, you're a party person, you're including this as part of your activism and your kind of social justice work. What are some of your demands that you have for these spaces?
Okay, so I made a little list. So mainly it's space. We need space. I think what's hard is like most space is governed, I think, by like white male energy. I don't know what to call it. White, cis, straight, male energy kind of governs most things. So it's like, how do you make a space that is not governed by like the rest of the fucking America? So I wrote, what we need is space, space to think, space to feel, space to create alternative universes, space to exist freely without policing, physical space that is adequate to our physical needs, space that is accessible, space where the cost of entry is caring for one another and not rent to a landlord. Yo, they be charging us like $4,000 to rent a warehouse. Just so you know, like, that shit ain't free. It's fucked up. Space to learn how to work with each other in community, space to feel into our existence, space away from social media, space inside of a track, space inside of a groove, space to be black, space to be dark, space to hold one another and remember the messages that we have forgotten, but that run through our blood, and space to build new realities.
Love that.
I was just riffing.
No, it's great. Building new
It's
realities.
just we need to open up something else, period.
Well, part of it is like, we can't go anywhere. We don't have space, right? Things get closed.
That's the big problem.
Right?
That's why this shit is illegal. 'Cause if it wasn't in some back alley somewhere, like, it wouldn't happen.
And there's something about kind of like being extra legal, right? Where you sort of like are existing because it allows you to do other things and try to at least operate outside of too much surveillance or certain kinds of surveillance.
Creating something where we're not also surveilling each other. We have to kill the cops inside our head because the outside world doesn't just cease to exist within the underground spaces. So there's a lot of ways we need to educate each other and learn how to be in community. I think about that a lot.
So I want to be clear. The club is not a perfect space. It's not a safe space. It can be disappointing. It can be boring. It can be uncomfortable, as Kemi Adeyemi's work on Black lesbian party spaces in Chicago shows. But even still, Black queer dance floors, clubs, DJ performances have always served up something else and done it fiercely. A vibrant and vibrating antidote to the catastrophe of the present. We need to create our own space, building off of what you were saying. We need to create spaces to dance, spaces of care and vibrancy and vibration and velocity. We need to dance to remember that we have a body, that we are in a body, and that we have limitless capacity for feeling. We dance because we are here right now, and it is in seizing the capaciousness of the now that we begin to thrive. Now, let's party.